Let's start with the next chapter, control and coordination. This chapter is all about control and coordination. All we know that human beings are controlled by a particular structure, organ in the body, which is known as brain, or we can say the central nervous system. Another thing is coordination. Like coordination is required in every field of life, hence in various body systems also coordination is required. So in this chapter we will study how control and coordination takes place in various activities and how it is done by the brain and the nervous system. So in control and coordination we can see running children. The heading is there, running children. Let's have a look at what happens during running. Here we can make out the children enjoying in a garden. They are running. While running, we can see very well that the movements of limbs occur. But it's not only limbs, the hands are also moving, means all the four limbs are moving. While movement, have you ever heard that what are the other systems which work? It's the heartbeat which increases, the breathing rate that also accelerates, and overall eyes are working to move forward in a steady lane, as well as the brain is controlling all these things. So while in this chapter we are just focusing all these things, control by the brain and coordination among various body parts. We know that neuron is the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. Let's have a look on the structure of a neuron. Here we can see the structure of a neuron or a nerve cell. The upper part is known as cell body. Then from it arises numerous branches. These branches are shorter branches which are known as dendrite. One long branch originates from the cell body. This long branch is known as axon. Over the axon we can see an additional sheath. This is known as neurolemma. Axon on its distal end converts into numerous finer branches which are known as nerve endings. We can see that these nerve endings are terminating into knobs. These are known as synaptic knobs. In the cell body there is a prominent structure known as nucleus. Then numerous other cell organelles are found just like any other eukaryotic organism, eukaryotic cells. So in this way this is the structure of a neuron. The question arises that what is a neuron? As I have told you, it is the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. Another question which is quite very important and is normally asked: draw a labeled diagram of a neuron. While drawing it, we should take care that not only drawing, labeling should also be done appropriately. So the cell body, it is very easy. Draw it in a zigzag way and make branches, as many as you can, and a nucleus which is important to be shown, and then it should be labeled dendrites and neuron, and this whole cell body. Then make a longer branch. Over it draw an additional sheath. This is known as axon, label that part also. Then nerve endings, label this part also, because labeling is important, because it also fetch marks. Without labeling you will get only half marks. Now what is actually the work done by the neuron? In which way? As we have seen earlier, the flow of information takes place in the body by neurons towards the brain as well as towards the body part from the brain. So we have seen that how the neurons are connected with each other, obviously by means of a synapse. Now the question can be asked that what happens at a synapse? Let's have a look what happens at a synapse. Synapse junction between two neurons. We can see the nerve endings of one neuron release neurotransmitters. These neurotransmitters travel the synaptic cleft and reach the next neuron, where they create similar type of impulse, and this impulse is travelled further Hence, at a synapse, the relay of information takes place which create similar type of impulse, and hence the information relays from one to the next neuron. This way messages are sent to the brain or they are received from the brain. We have gone through synapse, travel of neurotransmitters in the nerves. Let's have a look at what actually a synapse is. If it is asked that how to draw a diagram or draw a diagram, let's have a look. Here we can see two or many neurons are there. This is an actual picture. It happens in human body that they are connected with each other by means of synapse. We can see one neuron, the cell body, cyton, and the shorter branches which are known as dendrites. One such long branch is also there which is known as axon. This axon terminates into smaller branches which are actually nerve endings, and they are knobbed. These knobbed endings are known as synaptic knobs, which make junction with the other neuron. Here it is highlighted that this is one nerve ending and it makes a junction with the dendritic membrane. So junction between two is known as synapse. Here we can see within the vesicles there are certain chemicals which are known as neurotransmitter molecules. Normally the students are confused that what flows in nerves. So remember, it is always neurotransmitters which travel. Now from this the question can be asked that name the shorter and long branches of a neuron.
And the shorter branches are dendrites and the longer are axons.
Correct. The shorter branches, which are many in number, are dendrites. Long branch normally, usually in a typical neuron, is one, and that is axon. Now the question can be asked, what flows in nerves?
Ma'am, it's neurotransmitter molecules.
Correct. The molecules are known as neurotransmitter molecules. They can be termed as neurotransmitter colorless substances which relay information from one to the next neuron, towards the brain and away from the brain. As we have seen that neurons are in connection with each other, which is known as synapse, in the same way neurons are also in contact with the muscles, because all the muscles in the body they work according to the information, and the information is brought to the muscles by motor neurons, carried from the muscles towards the brain by sensory neurons. So these neurons, they also make a connection with the muscles so that they can bring about some changes and work can be done. This junction between the muscles and the neuron, you can see the nerve endings here and a muscle fiber, is known as neuromuscular junctions. If we take, for example, it's a motor neuron and it means bringing command from the brain so that the muscle can work. We can see very clearly here that the nerve endings, they release neurohormones which are received by certain receptors on the muscles, and some changes occur by which the muscles can work. So it's quite very important type of junctions, just like synapse in the body, the neuromuscular junction. Now the question comes that what happens at neuromuscular junction and how the work is done. Question is very simple. At the neuromuscular junctions, certain chemicals are released. These chemicals pass through the cell membrane of the nerves, which is known as neurolamer, bring about chemical changes, and the muscles contract, work is done. So such type of junctions are important for the muscles to work. We have been discussing neurons, junctions, synapse, neuromuscular junctions. This makes very clear that neuron is the basic unit of the nervous system. It is made up of millions of neurons. Now let's have a look that this nervous system which is present in the body, it is divisible into how many categories, because nervous system is actually an organized mass of neurons. So parts of the nervous system, here we can clearly see that it is divisible into two basic type of nervous system. First is the central nervous system and the second part is peripheral nervous system. Further we can see that central nervous system is divisible into two parts. First is brain and the second one is spinal cord. Brain, the overall controlling body, as we all know, is a quite complicated structure and is further divisible into three parts like forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. On the other hand, we can see the division categories in peripheral nervous system. It is composed of basically nerves. These nerves are of two types, cranial nerves and the other one are known as visceral or spinal nerves. Hence, this shows that nervous system is composed of different types of nerves in the body. We have right now understood neurons and their arrangement in the nervous system, types of nervous system. Then the neurons, they are actually carrying out various types of activities in the body, processes in the body. Many a times you might have seen that certain sudden actions occur in the body without thinking. We don't think. Suppose you are moving and something enters your eyes, you will blink. You won't think that what we should do. So such kind of actions, they keep on taking place in the body. What the term is used for them? Reflex action. Reflex action is any sudden involuntary action which is normally controlled by the spinal cord, which is the part of central nervous system, but not by the brain, remember. Now, what's the significance? Why reflex actions do occur in the body? Once there is brain, there is central nervous system. So such type of reactions prevent us, protect us from getting severely hurt. And moreover, they reduce the functioning of the overburdening and functioning of the brain up to some extent, because brain has to control overall bodies. So two significances are there of reflex action. One, that they protect us from getting severely hurt, and second, they reduce the brain from getting overburdened. Now let's have a look how this reflex action takes place in the body. On the screen you are able to see a human hand. No one is going to keep the arm on the flame like that. Obviously it might have happened accidentally, like suppose a person is sitting like that and someone else places a candle under the palm. What will happen after that? Let's see, have a look on this. This is actually the cause, and here you can see the sensation is carried by the sensory nerve, passes to the spinal cord. Here it is the ganglia, you can see, and then the impulse from there will definitely be interpreted. Then it comes into the next neuron, that is this is sensory, this is interneuron, and then the sensation, it is converted into command that comes back via the motor neurons. Here you can see the motor neurons, they are carrying the sensation, and the sensation comes back to that particular body part. In this way the interpretation is done and suddenly the palm moves. This way the reflex action takes place. Here we can have a look that the movement of sensation and the command is in the form of an arc. Hence this arc is taking place during reflex action is known as reflex arc. Now the question comes that what is a reflex action? Can you answer? What is a reflex action?
Any involuntary action is an reflex action?
Correct. Any involuntary sudden quick action is reflex action where brain doesn't participate at all. It's only the spinal cord. We have read about reflex actions. What happens during reflex action? How the information flows? Let's see. That flow of information is in the form of an arc which is known as reflex arc. Normally it is asked that what is reflex arc and draw the diagram. If we have not gone through the diagram, we can write it down in the form of a flow chart which will help you in fetching marks. So let's see. Any cause or stimulus which is there in the outer environment is received by receptors. These receptors send this stimulus in the form of sensory sensation to the sensory neurons. These sensory neurons carry the sensation to the spinal cord. From the spinal cord, the information is interpreted and via motor neurons the command is relayed and it goes back to the same organ in some different muscles. Hence they are known as effectors because work has to be done. And finally, work is done. So this flow of information, if we see, it is in the form of an arc. Stimulus received by receptors, then gone to sensory neurons, via them to the spinal cord, then to the motor neurons. They carry the commands to the organs, effector organs, and work is done. So this is known as reflex arc. So we have gone through nervous system, its type, reflex actions, and so on. Let's summarize that what are the functions overall which are controlled by the nervous system. Like we can say it controls all the voluntary actions and involuntary actions you can make out, means the actions which we do according to our will as well as which are not under our control. Second, it also controls all the reflex actions and protect us in harmful situations. Third, it enables us to think, to reason, to memorize. In the childhood we have read about ABCD, Kaka Gaga, how we are able to memorize and remember till date. It's all because of brain, it's all stored there. So it helps in thinking, reasoning, memorizing. Another thing, it also makes us keep a contact with the outside world through our sense organs. All the sense organs, they are helpful in maintaining a balance. So they are also under the control of nervous system. Now can I ask a question? Can you tell me what are the functions controlled by the nervous system?
Ma'am, as you explained, these are involuntary actions, voluntary actions, reflex actions, and also sense organs?
Correct. Reflex actions, sense organs, all under the control of nervous system. So overall, quite very important system of the body, and it controls overall control and coordination. Let's have a look on human brain and its parts. As we know, it is a part of central nervous system and is highest coordinating center in the body. Human brain is actually divisible into three parts. Let's have a look. Here we can see the convoluted part of human brain. This is actually forebrain. It is the largest part actually of the human brain, the forebrain. Second part is the midbrain. It's very small, smallest part. And then is the hind brain. This portion is actually hind brain. Now let's see, the forebrain being largest is further divisible into how many parts? Basically, olfactory lobes are there, which is actually not visible in this particular. They are on the backside of the this cerebrum. Then is the hypothalamus. So cerebrum is the largest part of the forebrain. Hypothalamus is under to it, which is not very clear in it, and the olfactory lobes. The largest part, which is cerebrum, is divisible into further lobes. These lobes are occipital, parietal, frontal, and temporal. Each part of the human brain performs some specific functions. Midbrain, the smallest part of the brain, is actually a linking portion, link between fore and hind brain. Hind brain is further divisible into three parts: cerebellum, medulla, you can see here, and pons. So these are parts of human brain. As I have told you, here the human brain is divisible into various parts, and each part controls specific functions. Let's have a look that what are these functions performed by various parts of the human brain. As said earlier, human brain is divisible into fore, mid and hind brain. The forebrain, it controls sight, means vision, hearing and smell. Then it also controls all the voluntary actions, the actions which are done by our will. And it also controls hunger as well as mental abilities. So these are some of the prominent functions performed, controlled by the forebrain. Then midbrain, as I have told you, it is the smallest part of the human brain. It connects the forebrain to hindbrain. Basically, it helps as a link. Then it also controls reflex movements of head, neck and trunk. The sudden movements of head, neck and trunk. They are controlled by the midbrain. Then hindbrain, it controls, as hindbrain is divisible into some parts. So here some functions of each part are mentioned. First is medulla. Medulla of hindbrain, it controls salivation, coughing, sneezing and vomiting. Next is cerebellum. That cerebellum controls balancing and posture of the body. Then is pons, the third part of the midbrain. Normally it regulates respiration. So these three parts of the hindbrain controls specific functions. Now the question arises, it can be asked in any of the form. Like take one example, which part of the human brain controls balancing and posture?
Midbrain?
No, it's incorrect. It is actually the hindbrain, and specifically it is mentioned that cerebellum of hindbrain maintains posture and balancing of the body. As we have seen that various delicate organs in the body are protected by certain protective structures or tissues. Like previously we have seen lungs are protected by ribs. In the same way, brain, which is also a delicate structure, how it is protected? The same way how the spinal cord is protected, being delicate tissues. Brain is actually protected by a particular structure which is known as cranium. Let's have a look. This is human skull. We can see bones. This is the topmost part which is known as cranium. Actually the brain is present inside it. So this upper part which is known as cranium is protective in nature. Inside of it the human brain is present. So it is the protection of human brain. Likewise, vertebral column, which is commonly known as backbone, is also a protective layer. How we can see that? Let's have a look. Here we can see the spinal cord. Spinal cord is actually a delicate tissue, cord-like structure, and it is protected by bones. All these bones make a common backbone, and there are various parts of these backbones. The smaller bones of the backbone are known as vertebrae. They are named accordingly, like cervical, present in the neck region, thoracic, which are present in the chest and the lower part of the body, lumbar in the lower back region, then sacral in the hip region, and the coccyx or coccygeal in the between the hip joints or the vestigial vertebrae, which make the tailbone. So human skull, the cranium part of the human skull and vertebral column are protective layers of the central nervous system. What's the purpose of it? Normally they absorb all the jerks and external mechanical shocks. Likewise, between the vertebral column and in the cranial tissue as well as the cranium, there is a fluid known as cerebrospinal fluid that keeps on absorbing shocks, and that is also protective in nature. So cranium, vertebral column and cerebrospinal fluid provide protection to human brain and spinal cord.
Now we are here to begin our next chapter, that is control and coordination. Now let's discuss tropic movements in detail. Here we have tropic movements are of four types: phototropism, geotropism, Hydrotropism and Chemotropism. Here I want to mention something. Please remember, whenever a part of a plant is moving towards the stimulus, we call it positive tropism. And whenever the plant part is moving away from the stimulus, we determine it as negative tropism, because I am going to ask you some questions after some time. Now let's discuss phototropism in detail. Photo means light. When a part of a plant moves towards the stimulus of light, we call it phototropism. Let's have a look. Small seeds growing into plantlets, and the plant entirely bends towards the light source. So this is a vivid picture showing phototropism, where the shoot while growing bends towards light. If the shoot of the plant is positively phototropic, will the root also be the same? This is my question to you now.
No, the root will show negative phototropism.
Very good. When a part of a plant moves towards gravity, we call it geotropism. Here geo actually refers to gravity. Let's have a look here. We are going to observe a tropic movement seen in plants. Here you see the seeds are germinating, the roots are moving towards gravity, whereas the shoot is moving towards the light source. So please remember, geotropism means the roots going towards gravity show positive geotropism, whereas the shoot which grows away from gravity shows negative geotropism. Now let's study hydrotropism. Here hydro refers to water. Have a look, children. When a part of a plant moves towards the stimulus of water, we call it hydrotropism. Here we have a germinating seed. Here goes the shoot, and please check, here we have water and the root slowly starts moving towards water. Hence we can say the root is positively hydrotropic, whereas the shoot is negatively hydrotropic, because the shoot is moving away from water, whereas the root is moving towards water. Now let's study chemotropism. Here children, chemo refers to chemicals. So when a part of a plant moves towards the stimulus of chemical substances, we call it chemotropism. So where in a plant do you expect to see chemotropism? It can be seen when during pollination the pollen grain lands on the stigma. From there it forms a pollen tube to move down during fertilization. So what happens? The pollen tube will land on the stigma, as I told you. Just have a look. The pollen tube is growing from the pollen grain. Down it's moving. Where? It's moving towards the ovary, which is secreting a sweet sugary liquid. And due to that chemical stimulus, the pollen tube rushes towards the ovule within the ovary to bring about the process of fertilization. Children, this is one of the male gametes which is fertilizing with the egg present within the ovary. Now let's discuss about nastic movements, or the movement independent of growth, in detail. Here we go, children. We are here to talk about nastic movements. Already discussed, it's a kind of movement where the part of the plant neither moves towards the stimulus nor away from the stimulus. So the best example is the touch me not plant leaves. As soon as we touch, the leaves immediately droop down. Here you can have a look. But now I should tell you, why do the leaves droop down? Actually, these leaves are sensitive to touch. So whenever we touch the leaves, the plant leaf cells, they undergo plasmolysis, or else the water from the plant leaf cells, they move out to the neighboring cells and tissues. As a result, the leaves start drooping down. But after some time, the water again gets back to the leaves. As a result, we see the leaves rejuvenating once again. So it is actually due to plasmolysis that the plant leaves cells, they lose water and the leaves start drooping down. Now let's discuss about plant hormones. First let me tell you, what are these? They are chemical substances which are secreted or synthesized within the plant bodies, which help in controlling growth and development within the plant body. These chemicals, they are synthesized at certain points or places within the plant, but they show their action at distant places within the plant body. The different plant hormones are, let's have a look children, auxin, gibberellin, cytokinin and abscisic acid. These are the hormones. Now let's study about the functions of the hormone auxin. Auxin promotes cell elongation, cell division and respiration. It takes care of protein synthesis, water uptake within the plant body. It also helps in the formation of seedless fruits. Next, we have the function of the next hormone, gibberellin. It's a hormone which brings about rapid growth of the stem. Especially children, it shows rapid elongation at the internodal regions of the stem. Next we have the third plant hormone, cytokinin. It promotes rapid cell division. Here I would like to tell something. Cytokinin comes from the word cytokinesis, that is division of cytoplasm. So it's a hormone which promotes rapid cell division, hence it is found in seeds and fruits, which are the areas of rapid cell division. Next we have the fourth plant hormone, abscisic acid. It inhibits growth and it brings about wilting or drooping down of the leaves. Now let's study why does a shoot bend towards the light source. Now let's have a look children. Here we have a shoot. From that side, that's the direction of light coming and falling on the shoot. Now as you know, the growing tips of the plant help in secretion of the plant growth regulator or the growth hormone, which is called auxin. Auxin is always synthesized from the root tip and the shoot tip region. Hence, as soon as the growing plant detects light, auxin is secreted or synthesized from the tip of the shoot. This auxin, which is synthesized at the shoot tip, slowly it's studied and found the auxin which is synthesized and prepared at the tip of the shoot slowly starts diffusing downwards and gets accumulated on the shady side of the shoot. See children, this is the lighted side of the shoot and this is the side away from the light. Hence, the auxin slowly moves down and gets accumulated towards the shady side of the shoot. In doing so, what's the function of auxin? The function of auxin is to bring about cell elongation, rapid cell elongation. As a result, in the next stage, what do we see? The auxin which has accumulated on the shady side brings about rapid cell elongation on this side of the shoot, whereas the cells on the other side remain normal in size. So what exactly is happening? Due to light falling on the shoot from one direction, it induces rapid cell elongation on the side which is away from the light source. And as a result, due to cell elongation, the shoot tends to bend towards the light source. So this is the reason why we see and study that why does a shoot bend towards the light. Now let's see, why does a tendril coil around a support? Here children, I have tried to make a very diagrammatic sketch. Suppose this is our support. And this is a tendril of any climbing plant. You know, I think, what is a tendril? They are coiled ring-like structures which help climbing plants to climb up. So this is our support, and we generally see that the tendril tends to coil around the support. Now why does it happen? Same thing. The previous topic of discussion was why does a shoot bend towards light? It's just an application of the same concept. when a tendril grows and when it comes in contact with a support, then the tendril responds by synthesizing auxin at the tip of it. This auxin from the tip slowly gets diffused and gets accumulated on the side which is away from the support. Now suppose children, this is our support, this is the tendril. If it's like this, then the auxin from the tip is going to get accumulated on this side which is away from the support. I hope you can correlate here. This side the auxin is going to get accumulated. As a result, on this side it will bring about rapid cell elongation. As the cells on this side elongate, grow longer, but on the other side, the point of contact with the support, there the normal cell division is taking place, but on this side the cells are elongating. As a result, more growth over this side, hence the tendril bends around the support. You can see from here it's coiling around the support. It's the same phenomenon, rapid cell division, because of auxin being accumulated on the side away from the support. So this is because why a tendril spreads or bends around the support. Let's have a short question answer session now. First question, why does the pollen tube grow towards the ovary?
It is due to chemotropism.
Yes. Give 2 examples of plant hormones that promote growth.
Auxin and gibberellin.
Very good. If a young green plant receives sunlight from only one direction, what's going to happen to the shoot?
The shoot will bend towards the light source,
Good.
showing phototropic movement.
Yes, good. Now let's discuss about the human endocrine system. First I would ask, children, can you tell me what do you mean by endocrine glands, because you have studied it in class 8th?
Yes, ma'am. They are ductless gland.
Thank you. Yes, I'll explain it to you. The endocrine glands are ductless glands. Actually means these glands do not have ducts or tubes to carry their secretions, which are called hormones. These are not carried through ducts or tubes to the target organs. In turn, they are carried through the bloodstream. These hormones are synthesized in specialized glands and they travel through the bloodstream to distant sites within the body to show their necessary action. Now let's discuss about the major endocrine glands present in the human body. Right in the brain we have 3 glands, hypothalamus, pituitary and pineal. Here comes the hypothalamus, here comes the pineal, and here comes the pituitary gland. Next you can see in the throat region, in the neck, we have the thyroid gland, and in the thyroid we have parathyroid gland. Next you see right at the center of the chest cavity we have the gland called the thymus gland. Here, these are your kidneys. Right on top of the kidneys there are 2 glands present which are known as the adrenal glands, and here you have the pancreas. Remember, it's a part of our digestive system. In males, the major endocrine gland is known as the testis, and in the female